Junior, aceste circunstanțe, antrenor Traian Dănciu. Senior, a evoluat la par constantă Steaua, 83-85, Dinamo, 85-90, apoi în Franța, Avignon, 90-97, două titluri de campion cu Steaua. Echipa națională a jucat între 84-90, a marcat 40 de încercări. În 1990 a fost selecționat în echipa Europei. Singurul jucător cu papion la gând în meciul Steaua Dinamo. 42 de selecții în echipa României. Participare la Campionatul Mondial din Noua Zeelandă, ediția 87. Maestru emerit al sportului.
Here you are, just here, just here. Oh. Push everyone behind you. White captain! Thank you. Red. Time on, boys.
So about to get underway on the opening day of the IRB Nations Cup. It's Argentina, the Jaguars, their A-team against Portugal, who've just kicked off in the red and the green, and the Portuguese who have the first penalty. Andrew Small, our English referee. Opening day of this IRB Nations Cup, 6th year of the tournament, 2nd year in a row we've been here at the National Stadium. Hosts Romania, the defending champions Namibia, Georgia, the South African Kings, Portugal, and the Argentina Jaguars, all taking part over the next 9 days. May have watched us follow Namibia to the title last year. Surprise winners, the Namibians, the defending champions, opening up their defence a little bit earlier with a defeat against the hosts, 13-11. They were beaten by Romania. But this now Portugal's chance to take the lead against a very strong Argentina A side, the Jaguars, and they have, and Pedro Cabral nudges them ahead very early on.
Santiago, just to step everybody, please. Forwards back. Thank you.
Portuguese rugby very much undergoing a rebuilding process at the moment after failing to qualify for this year's World Cup. Huge blow after the interest created by the efforts
Onside.
in France 4 years ago in 2007. But tournaments like this and matches like this, all part of that process. Taken on by Thomas de la Vega. The Jaguars, winners of the first Nations Cup in Lisbon in Portugal in 2006. It's the 3rd time that Argentina's A-team have played in the competition, and this is the fly half, the skipper, Santiago Gonzalez Iglesias, doing his absolute best to challenge the likes of Felipe Contepomi for the Pumas test shirt.
Tackle move.
Scrum half is Martin Landajo, helping to spread the ball wide. Joaquin Tukale, the 21-year-old fullback, but in the end it was Mauro Camuzzi who was shuffled into touch, and it's sharp defending from the Portuguese, particularly from Juan Severino, their burly number 8. It was his initial tackle on the fullback Tukale, and then he made sure that Camuzzi was in touch.
Stay there, White, stay there.
Portuguese hooker is the skipper, João Correa.
Yes. That's one.
Tropical rainstorms lashed the stadium yesterday. It's been another damp, muggy day today with rain and temperatures in the 80s. Much cooler at this time of night, 9 o'clock local time. Portugal in their insistence to be up with the defence, caught offside.
you have a penalty here or a scrum where he kicked it? Penalty? Shot. Inside the 10, offside.
And the skipper, Santiago Gonzalez Iglesias, decides that Portuguese offside will lead to Argentina's first attempt at points. Number of this Jaguars squad impressed in the Junior World Championships that we watched here on Eurosport a year ago in Argentina. Taken the step up from the junior squad, the under-20s, to the A-team, the Jaguars. As the countdown towards the World Cup in New Zealand gets louder and louder. No real breeze to worry about this evening. Just about direction and about distance. Well, he had the distance but lacked the direction, and Portugal hang on to their 3-0 lead. Argentine coach Daniel Horcada, who'll be a familiar face to the Portuguese. He was their assistant coach a few years back. And the skipper Gonzalez Iglesias just pulling it wide.
Knocked on.
And the ball was knocked on. Martin Landaggio trying to link things up cleverly in midfield. So it's Pedro Labral's early penalty that separates these two sides. Won by Felipe Aranguren, driving them up towards halfway. Landaggio tries to add some pace to it. Jaguars just happy to hang on to possession for the time being, build some phases. Again, Felipe Aranguren, the stocky second row, flicked back inside by Gonzalez Iglesias, taken on by Rosati. Iglesias involved again, 22-year-old. And for the second time in quick succession, Portugal coughing up the penalties, but it's taken quickly this time by Landaggio. Most concerted spell of attacking pressure the Jaguars have had, and they've drawn another penalty right in front of the posts. There goes Santiago Guzman. Oh, but he's lost it. Hammered away by Cabral, and it'll bounce eventually into the arms of Kamutsi. Cleared away off the left boot of Belisario Aguja. Doesn't find touch though. Francisco Serra gathers the ball as Portugal's new coach Errol Brain watches on, former New Zealand Maori skipper. Now in charge. He's been in charge for a year, and he'll be happy enough with the start they've made. Conceded penalties in front of their posts, but they've not been made to pay, and it's they who lead. And this is Aguja, this is Aguirre going on a fabulous run. Ball tucked back inside, taken on by Carl Murray. And how about that? Aguirre, Pedro Leal, and then Carl Murray, the final link in a very impressive Portuguese chain. It's the initial break inside from the scrum half Leal, and Murray was on hand to gather the ball back inside. And you're tempted to say somewhat against the run of play. Portugal lead by 8 points to 0. Brings coach Errol Brain to his feet. Cabral, who kicked them into an early lead to establish a 10-point lead. Through the Bucharest rain. Nope, not this time. But it's a fabulous start for the Portuguese. They lead by 8 points to 0. Portugal lost out, by the way, to Georgia, Romania and Russia in their World Cup qualifying campaigns. Tranche of young players have since been brought in. They've reset the sights now on England in 2015. A number of those young players getting opportunities to show what they can do over the next week or so in Romania. Such a shame for rugby back home in Portugal that they couldn't qualify for New Zealand this year. They did so much good work with their efforts in France in 2007. Brought in new supporters, new sponsors, new players, but all that's having to be rebuilt. Don't need any reminder of Argentina's World Cup pedigree at the very highest level, and they of course will be there again in October and November. They've got some work to do here though, their A team, the Jaguars. Opening day of the IRB Nations Cup in a rainy Bucharest.
Red, stop!
Ball chipped over by Pedro Cabral. There's a decent chase, but it was well read by the fullback Joaquin Tukele, the 21-year-old, and he finds Thomas Rosati. Rosati has players running both right and left. One of them was Tukele, who started the move and scores what will be one of the tries of the tournament. Not just one of the tries of the match. That will take some beating over the next 8-9 days. Tukele from one try line to the other, and the Jaguars are right back in this match. Was his initial break, despairing last gasp challenge from Eduardo Acosta, and then the fullback Francisco Serra came in, but by then it was far too late. Once Tukele had skipped over the outstretched hand of Acosta, the try was going to be scored, and what a try that was. That really was something else, and on an increasingly chilly evening in Romania, that got the blood coursing. Conversion is successful. Tukeled's score deserved to be a 7.1, and Iglesias, the skipper, makes sure that it is.
Tukele scores the try, Gonzalez Iglesias makes the conversion. The score is now 7 Argentina, 11 Portugal.
It's perfect, thank you.
Jaguars coming into this tournament in good form. They made up much of the team that won the recent South American Championship for Argentina. They're a very bright young bunch. Restart taken in by Santiago Guzman. They would have been shocked by the start that Portugal have made, and they're putting together some decent phases of play now to try and arrest the situation, although that won't help. Players in front of the ball, obstruction, and Andrew Small feels the need for a little chat with the skipper, Santiago Gonzalez Iglesias.
Before the game about discipline, we've had 2 players and the number 9. 4 white players detached. A new more, it is obstruction. No more chat. Thank you. Note, New move. Obstruction. Close.
Andrew Small, one of the best referees around these days. He took charge of the Aviva Premiership semi-final in England between Saracens and Gloucester at the back end of their domestic season. Highly regarded, and stamping his authority early on in this match. Well, as much as they might have been rocked by the concession of Tukule's spectacular try a few minutes ago, they have re-established some authority in this match. Pedro Cabral's second penalty, and approaching the midway point of the first half, it's Portugal who lead 14 points to 7. Maurizio Guidoni with the Argentine line-out, won by Aaron Guren. Decent position. Portugal struggling to hold them out here. It's a fabulous drive from that line-out. Picked up quickly, but then it was knocked on. I think it was Thomas de la Vega whose slippery hands let him down in the wet conditions. And with some relief, Pedro Leal, the scrum half, clears safely to touch, but that was a real opportunity for Argentina as time ticks down to half-time. Just tuning into Eurosport's opening day coverage of the IRB Nations Cup, then you might like to know that the hosts Romania have got off to a winning start. They beat the defending champions Namibia in the opening game by 13 points to 11. This is Argentina trying to do something against the Portuguese, though, and poor old Gonzalez Iglesias was knocked almost all the way back to Buenos Aires. One or two sticky fingers beginning to frustrate Argentina's progress, and they're going to have to work from deep again. But we saw what Joaquin Tukule can do from that position a little bit earlier. Not on this occasion. Gathered in eventually by Rui Dore. Big striding lock forward. Takes them almost up to halfway. Get into half-time with a 7-point lead, and I suspect that Portugal's coach Errol Brain will be thrilled with that. That's an interesting kick. It might yet work. It was taken in by Adorito Estevez. Then it's picked up by Laurent Belang. Get some good ball here, and there will be opportunities. Eduardo Acosta again involved. Vasco Uva goes over the top. Cabral, the fly half. This is Leal. Cabral again, rather getting in the way of Dory. And then there was a penalty at the ruck, and it's taken quickly by Argentina. A little bit too quickly for Andrew Small. There were still players on the floor, and we'll start again. But a move that was building up with some promise was started with that enormous tackle on Iglesias from Vasco Uva. When 7 meets 10, that often tends to happen. Approaching the final minutes of the first half.
I've got 90 seconds, mate. 90 seconds and you've got. Perfect.
And Andrew Small said we've got 90 seconds to go.
Portugal, please.
Argentine line out. Guidoni. Goes long. He was looking for Thomas Leonardi. And it was just a little bit too ambitious. A couple of times now over the last few minutes, in positions of some promise, Argentina have squandered possession, and Portugal will be happy to play for time now. to get on with it. Not much time left. Time for the line out. Guidoni again. Portugal deciding not to challenge, and then it wasn't straight. Well, the number of unforced errors will be concerning the coach Daniel Orcada at half-time. Portugal didn't even jump for that ball, and still the throw wasn't straight. This time it's Portugal's captain, João Correa, to show us what he can do. Won by Dory. Correa at the back of that bus, and Pedro Leal decides that that will do, and it's been a more than satisfactory first half for Portugal. Early penalty from Cabral, and then Carl Murray with the try. Tukile with a spectacular effort for the Jaguars, but it's the Portuguese who lead at half-time. Jaguars would have flown to Romania with high hopes, and they've got some work to do in this second half. Skipper Iglesias gets them back underway. They've scored the try of the match so far. They might, even at this early stage, have scored the try of the tournament. But it's Portugal who've made the most of their opportunities. Argentina profligate, particularly in attack, particularly in the 22. Big smile on the face of Andrew Small. Jaguars front row of Gaston de Robertis, Maurizio Guidoni and Francisco Gomes Cadela against Junior, Correa and Peque from Portugal. Portugal back in the tournament after an absence of 5 years, part of their rebuilding process, having missed out on the World Cup. And all about Argentinians scrummaging, and under some pressure they managed to get that ball away, but a little hint of open space for the forwards to drive into. Now it's an opportunity perhaps for the backs. Instead it's Gomes Cadela and Guidoni, the two front rowers, who link up to establish a new position for them. Now this is Rosati. Scrum half Landajo taken on by Thomas de la Vega. Little chip over the top, a clever one from Iglesias. It was well taken by Tukile, but he was offside in front of the kick from Iglesias. Might help to explain how he got there first.
15 white, offside, 15.
Portugal currently 20th in the world rankings, clustered around the likes of Romania, Russia, Namibia, Uruguay. One of those European countries with ambition. Still plenty of work to do before they move really from the third tier of rugby's top nations into the second tier. Start to challenge the top dozen. It's the ambition of players like João Correa, the skipper. They've lost that line out though, and Argentina can try and break from deep.
There was no tackle in there, no tackle, just flipped him over.
Penalty goes against Eduardo Acosta. Actually, I think in the end it was Cabral who went in. No arms used in the tackle. That's the reason Small gave the penalty, which has been pumped down towards the 22 by the Jaguars.
All in, all in. Horatio, you have the front, please. More! Advantage! Yeah.
Penalty to Argentina.
Tackling them all. Tackling them all. Doesn't matter in the ball. The ball is formed around you. You try to collapse it. Penalty.
Explanation clear from Andrew Small. You're not allowed to try and collapse them all, and that's what Portugal attempted to do from the line out. Little Carter watches on. Chance to impress for so many of these youngsters ahead of Argentina's inclusion in the extended Tri-Nations next year. The rugby union back home keen to nurture home-based players. So many of these players, unlike the top test team, are based in Argentina rather than in France or England or Ireland. And that's a hefty shove from the maul that had been formed off the line out, but Portugal's defence holds out. I think they've conceded the penalty. They might have conceded much more, though. Still, Argentina are heading towards the line with Aranguren taken on by Landagio. This is Gonzalez Iglesias, crossfield kick, and Francisco Serra was there to prevent what might have been a try. Perhaps the kick from Santiago Gonzalez Iglesias was somewhat telegraphed, but Serra did well. And Andrew Small wants to have another word.
By one of your players in collecting them all will be a yellow card. Yes, please.
Well, there's the warning to Correa. Next infringement will be a yellow card. Sign, perhaps, that Portugal sense Argentina are beginning to get on top up front. Correa lays down the law. No more, or one of them will see yellow. Still, it's Portugal who lead.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Inget. Hey, hey, hey. Two. You have the penalty. Option.
Small having to work hard at the moment to keep these two on the right side of legality, particularly Portugal. Argentina are really starting to turn the screw at the start of this second half.
Crouch. Touch. Pause. Inget. Yeah, thanks, mate. Just step back.
These players with eyes on a place in the full test team. Test team that continued its build up to the World Cup last weekend by beating the French Barbarians back in Argentina. Felipe Contepomi weighing in with 13 points, a try amongst that number.
Crouch. Touch.
A smile on the face of Martin Landagio. What do the Jaguars have in mind here? Will they keep it within the forwards? They think they're starting to control it, but they've been told to use it by the referee. It was picked up by Thomas Leonardi, who pinballed his way through Portugal's rather lightweight defence in the end. And on the back of a pack that's beginning to gain superiority, Leonardi scores the Jaguars' second try.
Number 8, Thomas Leonardi has scored the try. It is now Portugal 14, Argentina 12.
There was a certain amount of inevitability about that. Pretty much since the start of this second half, it's been about the increasing superiority of the Jaguars pack. That's to square things up. A bit of a breeze flapping around his shirt, but nothing overly that should concern him. The angle will be the major concern, as we can see. It's on its way, it's between the posts, it's a fabulous kick, and we're all square, 14 points apiece. Approaching the final quarter of the match, and the line-out's been stolen by Laurent Balag, kicked ahead, and it's being chased down by Jacques Leroux, the pacey flanker. Argentina's replacement fullback Roman Morales had to work hard to get himself out of a hole, and in the end he did it very well. But from that line-out, Portugal were suddenly wreaking havoc once again. Anthony Alves questioning the decision. Perhaps has good reason to question it. He was on his feet, it seemed, as he tried to rip the ball out. Anyway, play continues. Bouncing ball evaded the try scorer Leonardi, and Portugal are right back in this for the time being. This is Leal. Rather like the response to Argentina's try in the first half. It's been impressive from Portugal. It's they doing the pressing, and Argentina trying to get themselves out of a little bit of a hole. And Tucolo links up neatly with Aguja, who chases his own kick. The ball bounces kindly for Francisco Serra. Serra finds the scrum half Pedro Leal. Has the shape and feel of a sevens match momentarily. This is Federico Oliveira, who chases his own kick. Morales rather overran that and did well to rescue the situation in the end, under some pressure from the red and the green. Argentina looking to create some holes of their own. Good energy levels, an hour into the match. 14 points apiece. This is Martin Landajo. Iglesias feeding De La Vega. The scrum half Tucolo was involved again. He's had a good match. This is Camuzzi, taken on again by Tucolo, the fullback, looking for the support, which was eventually there, and the stretch to the line ensures the try. Goodness me, the Jaguars have scored some fine tries this evening, and that one puts them ahead for the first time. Tucolo once again was key. The tackle was made by Cabral, but the stretch to the line was all that it took in the end. Desperate attempt from Carl Murray to make the tackle, and I think it's Felipe Aranguren who had the wherewithal to keep his head, not to panic, to stretch and to score, and to put the South Americans into the lead for the first time. It's on its way, and it's between the posts, down at half-time, but all the points so far in the second, Argentina lead. Rain continues to fall on what has been a very wet day in the Romanian capital, Bucharest, and Jaguars still have plenty of work to do. Those two Portuguese penalties have brought them right back into this match, and they are still pressing. This is Carl Murray, who got the ball rolling at the start of the first half with his try. Well, the try now really would put the cat amongst the pigeons. Francisco Mira, the laces to try and dent the blue and white defence. Argentina offside. Penalties coming. 5 minutes to go. But they're not content with the penalty. They might yet get the try. They're really beginning to sense things here, and they've got the try. Jacques Leroux finding space where there seemed little on that far right-hand side. And a fabulous passage of play for Portugal has them back ahead. Oh, they've responded so well to conceding the lead on the hour mark. And Jacques Leroux's try gives them the lead that they've deserved. Conversion still to come. Oh, what a win this would be for Portugal. Looking for consolation having failed to make the World Cup, and this would be a major one. Conversion is just wide. 4-point lead, 4 minutes to go. Pedro Cabral's kick just skimming across the front of the posts.
25 Portugal, 21 Argentina.
Challenge now for Argentina is to have the perfect 3.5 minutes. First things first, gather the restart, and they at least will get the line out. Last touch came off a Portuguese hand.
Hey, we waited for you down there. Relax. Time is off.
So many high hopes coming into this match for the Jaguars. Coach Daniel Horcada looked after Argentina's first ever professional team, Los Pampas, who won the Vodacom Cup in South Africa recently, beat the Blue Bulls in the final. So many of that team in this one. Don't think losing to Portugal was part of the plan, but that's the way it's going at the moment. Unless they can pull something out of a rather damp Romanian sky in what's left of this match. But it's Portugal who are finishing the strongest. Francisco Mira, the replacement centre, takes them over halfway, but then he hangs on to the ball in the tackle. 3 minutes to go. The significance of the 4-point gap is not lost on Santiago Gonzalez Iglesias. Penalty's no good now. Maurizio Guidoni with the line out. Goes long, took the gamble as perhaps he needed to, and initially it didn't look as if it had paid off, but the ball bounces Argentina's way. Need to secure it though. Guzman eventually goes over the top to do that. He needed some help from Rosati though. Eventually picked up by Landajo. 2 minutes to go. The look on the faces tells you all you need to know. Another Argentine penalty against Anthony Alves. Well, Andrew Small said they've got 1 minute to go. Our clock suggests they've got a little more than that, but even so, Gonzalez Iglesias takes the decision to kick to touch and to go for broke from the line out.
1 minute, 30 seconds.
It's Andreas Bordoy, big bulky prop who plays for the Jockey Club, who was tipped up. That led to the penalty. But is their time to rescue themselves? Oh, the ball's been lost. It's anyone's ball. If Portugal can get it, that might be the match. The ball was knocked off a red hand initially, though. So Argentina are reprieved. It's their scrum, and they've got 60 seconds left.
Time off. Scrum. Well, hopefully not. Just one.
Oh, how dramatic is this? Argentina go on to play Georgia next Wednesday. They are then involved in the final game of the tournament against the hosts Romania back here in the National Stadium on Sunday week. Portugal will play the defending champions Namibia on Wednesday. And if they can hold out for the next 60 seconds, they'll go into that match as winners this evening.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
Half a minute left. No room now for errors. And they've got the penalty. Portugal's scrum rather splintered in disarray there. No real reason why they shouldn't go for another scrum, you'd imagine. Just wonder if the penalty try might be in the minds of the Argentines. There's a while to go yet, but we saw the pressure that Portugal's scrum was under there, and Andrew Small just emphasising the point, making them aware that they've got to try and keep it straight. It can't twist.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
Again, the Jaguars going forward. Time's up.
Ruck 7.
Jaguars have got to score from this position. Portugal keep them out. They will be the victors.
Release.
It's come down to the last play of the match, in the last seconds of the match, and it's been kicked away by the Portuguese. Regathered by the Jaguars.
Release.
Mauro Camuzzi, though, will have to work from deep. The opportunity from the dominant scrum has been squandered, but Tukale, perhaps time for one more moment of magic from the scorer of the game's outstanding try, but yet to see if it's to be scored by the game's winners. It might yet be, because it's a penalty to Argentina. No time for the line out, says Andrew Small, so the Jaguars have to get on with it. This is Nannini. Tackled by Juan Severino. Oh, it's gone into touch, and that will be the end of the game, and that will bring joy to Portugal. Not sure too many people had them down as winners against Argentina's A team this evening, but Carl Murray's early try set them on the way. They weren't overly disturbed by Tukale's fabulous reply in the first half. In the end, score with 5 minutes to go from Jacques Leroux takes Portugal home, and they have beaten the Jaguars by 25 points to 21.